Can I get a glass of water? I'm serious. I'm thirsty. Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. You never seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing.
no.
He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this.
Problem
He's
is solved?
bullshitting the world. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say that.
Speaking of Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about this eulogy specifically in the moment and all the tensions that you just brought out.
I didn't even want to talk. I was so mad. Part of the reason I think I ended up having anything to say.
Barack Obama's carefully polished image just took a comedic beating courtesy of Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly. With zero chill and maximum firepower, they tore through the illusions, exposing contradictions and turning his legacy into a highlight reel of political theater. No teleprompter can save him now, just raw, relentless truth wrapped in razor-sharp humor. If you thought Obama's charm could outshine real scrutiny, this takedown proves the spotlight's finally burning holes through the facade.
Do you remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, this? And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped.
We'll be remiss if we do not do at least one clip from the Barack Michelle Obama appearance, the podcast, because everybody thinks they're getting a divorce, and let's face it, they probably are. She dragged him onto her show with brother Craig.
Barack Obama could give a TED Talk on brushing his teeth and still make it sound like he's solving world hunger while floating on a cloud of self-importance. As he coasts through life on a smug breeze powered by Netflix deals and nostalgic speeches, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just popped that overinflated balloon with verbal shivs sharper than Michelle's biceps. This wasn't some polite nudge. This was a full-scale verbal demolition, leaving zero room for politically correct fluff or that familiar, untouchable Obama halo.
Their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. There was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
Let's start with Joe Rogan, a guy who's interviewed everyone from neuroscientists and MMA fighters to comedians, astronauts, and even the occasional dude who munches raw liver for lunch. And even he couldn't resist peeling back the perfectly pressed layers of the Obama mythology. You'd think a former president would be too lofty for Rogan's crosshairs, but when your post-presidency tour looks like a deluxe cash grab wrapped in stale campaign slogans, you're fair game. Rogan zeroed in on the absurdity of a man who once claimed to understand the American people, then promptly vanished into a fortress of gated mansions, private jets, and glossy Vogue spreads starring his wife like she's auditioning for Queen of the World.
This is definitely not helping the Democrats knowing what we now have confirmed about Biden.
Give me some volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto pen.
While Obama was out here collecting trophies for simply existing, Megyn Kelly wasn't about to let that narrative glide by unchecked. She came in swinging with her signature delivery. Part news anchor, part courtroom closer, part exhausted mom who just caught her kid lying about doing homework again. She unpacked the Obama era like a closet full of designer suits that somehow stayed in style despite being covered in dust. Her favorite target? That shiny illusion of Obama as the flawless, untouchable beacon of hope, change, and infinite wisdom. Spoiler alert, Megyn shredded that fantasy with the ruthless precision of a TSA agent spotting a suspicious liquid at security.
People like, maybe it's the old sperm, maybe it's not the vaccine that's causing the autism.
yeah,
you know, why don't you look at that?
They'll never let that secret out.
Good luck with that one.
That may be the key behind all the defunding everything.
What? What is this? This is just some grievance fest again with two of the most privileged women on earth who are really bitter against men.
And don't get it twisted. Michelle didn't get a free pass either. If Barack was the voice of the brand, Michelle was the marketing department, creative director, and lifestyle influencer all rolled into one. It wasn't enough that she turned kale into a national punishment. She did it while guilt-tripping kids into choking down cafeteria quinoa as her own family feasted on gourmet spreads at lavish state dinners. This is the same woman who delivered speeches on equity while rocking heels worth more than most Americans' weekly paychecks. But sure, please, tell us more about sacrifice and relatable struggles.
Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died.
Was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's a man. Like, remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Rogan took that hypocrisy and ran it straight through the meat grinder. Nothing screams, we understand the working class, like turning your post-White House years into a luxury vacation tour, punctuated by sponsored podcasts and million-dollar book deals. Rogan didn't just call out the optics. He dismantled them, like a garage gym that looks impressive on Instagram until someone actually lifts the weights and realizes they're hollow. The Obamas turned public service into a personal brand, and Rogan treated it like a wellness influencer, claiming you can cure anxiety with lavender oil and 7 push-ups. Meanwhile, Megyn dragged Obama's foreign policy record like it was a group project he barely touched but still bragged about on graduation day. She called out the Nobel Peace Prize fiasco like it was the opening punchline at a brutal roast, because when you snag a Peace Prize before doing anything remotely peaceful, it stops sounding like an honor and starts looking like a shiny participation trophy. Basically a gold star for not being George W. Bush.
On a great subject, which is like these rich and powerful people who are totally unaware of how people perceive them and how great their lives are and how little they should be complaining, period, never mind publicly. Which leads me to Michelle Obama. Every day she's dropped another negativity bomb on us, whether on her podcast or on someone else's. I mean, this audience knows she never says anything positive. It is all complaints. So she goes on another podcast. She's promoting her show, so she's making the rounds. The Diary of a CEO podcast.
That Peace Prize aged about as well as a Blockbuster membership. Megyn tore into the surveillance state like she was personally auditing the NSA. Remember when Obama's administration expanded spying programs while flashing that grin for photo ops like he was hosting Reading Rainbow? Yeah, Megyn remembered. And she laid it all out with the precision of someone who actually reads declassified memos instead of relying on good vibes and nostalgia reels. Hope and change, it turns out, sometimes comes with a side of metadata harvesting and drone strikes. Rogan picked up that baton and sprinted straight into Obama's carefully curated media legacy. The cozy interviews, the polished documentaries, the syrupy, narrated nostalgia. Like the man's gunning for an Emmy just for being a former president. Rogan mocked the softball questions lobbed at him by late-night hosts, saying they pitched underhand like it was t-ball for billionaires who never break a sweat.
So nice to have you both in the same room together.
I know, because when we aren't, folks think we're divorced.
These are the kinds of things that I just miss, right? So I don't even know this stuff's going on.
Right.
And then somebody will mention it to me, and I'm all like, what are you talking about?
People think that they're on the outs because they're not always in the same room together, Maureen. That's what she would like people to believe. Like she had what, 1 or 2 public appearances without him, and that's what led to the divorce speculation. That's not quite it, my dear. It's what are the things? Oh, your words. It's your word.
How can someone be so relatable while doing everything possible to stay 3 zip codes away from the very people he claims to understand? Barack talks about the middle class like it's some exotic species he once read about in a sociology textbook. Megyn shredded that condescending glow that trails Obama everywhere, like he's the human version of a TEDx talk, polished, rehearsed, and ultimately hollow if you scratch beneath the surface. He's the only guy who can say absolutely nothing for 15 minutes and still get a standing ovation like he just cured polio. Meanwhile, his actual record tells a grittier story. Deportation numbers that would make his loudest critics faint, global conflicts that quietly escalated under his watch, and domestic division so wide you could drive a presidential motorcade through it. Then they hit the jackpot, the money trail. Rogan scoffed at Obama's speaking fees like they were a slap in the face to anyone with an actual day job. Hundreds of thousands per speech for a TED-worthy monologue about what it felt like to be famous.
Instant affectation, like, oh, my man. And like she doubles down in the following clip. It's just over the top. And here it is, 37.
There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man. And we've had some really hard times. So we have had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures. And I have become a better person because of the man I'm married to.
There ain't been 1 minute when I thought about quitting my man. She doesn't talk like that, right? Who does she think she's kidding? It's quitting, like it has no T's or a G. My man. Okay, she's like, there's something going on there where she's really acting in order to be like down home and I love my man and trust me. And like the whole thing to me looked like a complete affectation.
Megyn added fuel to that fire by pointing out how the Obamas, who once branded themselves as champions of the everyday American, cashed in on the very institutions they once side-eyed. Wall Street gigs, cushy deals with corporate media, publishing empires, poof! That outsider narrative vanished faster than an Obama-era red line. And Michelle didn't get a free pass in this economic roast either. She's not just a former first lady, she's a brand, an empire, basically a motivational poster in Lululemon leggings. While she lectures Americans about decency and sacrifice, Rogan reminded everyone that the couple's real superpower is Olympic-level mental gymnastics, preaching humility while getting chauffeured between multi-million-dollar estates. Rogan joked they probably rehearse speeches about empathy while interns fan them with reusable Whole Foods bags. Megyn wrapped it up by hammering the celebrity worship that clung to Obama like a halo, both in the White House and long after. America didn't just elect a leader, they crowned a pop culture deity. But beneath the charisma was policy drift, performative morality, and a feedback loop of soaring speeches that sounded inspiring but did almost nothing tangible. Obama, she said, was like the world's greatest life coach, who gives you a pep talk, then forgets to pay your rent.
More fuel on the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas' relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team. What's it called? I can't remember the name. The Clippers, thank you. Game without her. And the LA Clippers. And then with Steve Ballmer, who's the owner, he's been on this show. And then on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with his both daughters, Malia and Sasha, but again, no Michelle, according to TMZ. So
I think they seem to be soft launching their divorce.
And for all the fawning press profiles and nostalgic TV specials, Joe and Megyn pointed out the uncomfortable truth. The mess America's wading through now didn't magically appear with Trump's tweets or Biden's gaffes. It was incubated during the Obama years, under the soothing lullaby of polished speeches and likable charisma. You don't get to spend 8 years in the big chair and then act like the cool substitute teacher who just popped in for movie day. Megyn reminded everyone that leadership isn't about how people feel in the moment. It's about what actually happens when the cameras turn off. And under Obama, plenty happened behind the carefully curated curtain of charm. Surveillance, drone strikes, divided communities, Wall Street bailouts dressed up as necessary evils. It was all there, just hidden under smooth delivery and the glow of celebrity. And now, as he drifts through post-presidential life like a retired superhero, still hawking action figures, Joe and Megyn made it painfully clear. The myth has lingered too long. Barack Obama might still dazzle a crowd with a glance and a well-timed pause, but the echo chamber is cracking. With Rogan's raw reality check and Megyn's sharp-edged snark, they didn't just poke holes, they gutted the showroom, killed the mood lighting, and left the teleprompter smoking.
I know, and she's also out on David Geffen's yacht with Oprah, and then, her memoir was named Becoming. Look at me, becoming with her big face on the front. Like, okay, she's a little drunk on her own wine, but not on Barack's, which is just interesting to me. At this point, after having been First Lady twice, thanks to him, let's face it, Michelle Obama was not some star in her own right. She was a lawyer, I think, at Sidley and Austin in Chicago.
And just when it looked like the roast might cool off, Rogan leaned in and turned up the flame, zeroing in on Obama's obsession with legacy. Nothing screams authenticity, Rogan said, like micromanaging your Wikipedia page while acting above it all. Barack doesn't just want to be remembered fondly. He wants his own Mount Rushmore bust and a Ken Burns doc voiced by Morgan Freeman. Rogan laughed at how the man spent more hours polishing his historic image than most Americans spend brushing their teeth in a year. This, from the same guy who preached transparency for 8 years, then ghosted out the back door while his administration tangled up press freedom and surveillance laws. But somehow people still talk about him like he walked on water, because he wore a tan suit once and dropped Spotify playlists like Easter eggs. Rogan called it out with that deadpan disbelief only he can deliver, pointing out the absurdity of worshipping a brand that never matched the reality. Then Megyn jumped back in, torching the halo of feel-good politics that's followed the Obamas like a personal film crew. She dismantled how Michelle crafted her image as the queen of unity and positivity, while carefully sidestepping anything remotely messy or politically risky. Selling hope is easy when you never have to touch the chaos. It's like bragging you stayed spotless at a food fight when you never bothered to show up with a plate.
When is the last day? Like, when is it? When do they say you got to have your bags packed? You got to get out of here.
I don't know. I should find out. No, it's actually amazing because they literally move all your stuff out in one day. You are living there, and then suddenly it's not all out on the south lawn. I mean, they pack it up, but they will move it to wherever it is that you want to move it to. And so you're living in the White House up until Inauguration Day, and Inauguration Day you're out of it.
And when Michelle pops up to lecture Americans about decency, it lands like a sermon from a throne, forgetting that she and Barack spent 8 years smiling through polite dysfunction while their party got hollowed out at the state level. Megyn laid it out clean. Speeches don't rebuild working-class communities, and glamorous podcast appearances won't fix the inner-city school systems they once promised to transform. Meanwhile, Rogan wasn't about to let go of the cultural blind spot. The pedestal Obama still stands on is built more on style than substance. The cadence, the pauses, the polished delivery that makes even bad news sound like a smooth jazz riff. Rogan called it exactly what it is. PR wizardry, political perfume sprayed over broken promises. The guy could narrate a thunderstorm and still get applause for the thunder. And the irony, Obama's party is still quietly sweeping up the mess he left behind. Division, disillusionment, and a generation more obsessed with vibes than vision. The chaotic political climate didn't just appear overnight. It was seeded during 8 years of soaring speeches that sold hope while negotiating reality behind closed doors. Rogan and Megyn weren't pulling any punches. They were tearing the velvet curtain right off its hinges. And in that moment, the myth cracked again. Not because they invented new dirt, but because they said what half the country thinks every time Obama pops up on another streaming service thumbnail. Enough with the nostalgia tour. The show's over. Curtain down.